The year is 2025. America stands at a crossroads. The nation, still grappling with the ghosts of the pandemic and a deeply polarized electorate, has once again placed its trust in the hands of Donald J. Trump. His victory, a testament to his enduring appeal among a significant portion of the population, marked a historic return to the Oval Office. Never before had a former president, let alone one impeached twice and facing multiple criminal indictments, managed to reclaim the highest office. Trump's second act promised to be anything but ordinary. Trump's return was fueled by a potent cocktail of anger, resentment, and a yearning for a bygone era. His supporters, disillusioned by economic uncertainty, cultural shifts, and the perceived failures of the political establishment, saw in him a fearless champion, a disruptor who would shatter the status quo and restore America to its former glory. They cheered his promises to crack down on immigration, rebuild the economy, and put America first on the world stage. Yet Trump's re-election was met with a mixture of shock and trepidation by his detractors. They saw in his return a threat to democracy itself, a slide towards authoritarianism, and a validation of the very forces of division and intolerance that had plagued his first term. The nation held its breath, bracing itself for the turbulence that was sure to follow. The stage was set for a tumultuous second act, a clash of ideologies, and a battle for the soul of America. The world watched with bated breath as Donald Trump, the ultimate showman, prepared to take center stage once more. Trump's second term was marked by a distinct shift in his approach to governance. Gone were the days of revolving door appointments and high-profile resignations that had characterized his first administration. This time Trump surrounded himself with a cadre of loyalists, individuals who had proven their unwavering allegiance during his years in exile. These were not merely advisors but true believers, united by their shared ideology and their unwavering faith in their leader. One of the most notable appointments was that of J.D. Vance, the best-selling author of Hillbilly Elegy and a vocal Trump supporter, as vice president. Vance, who had successfully tapped into the anxieties of working-class white America, brought with him a deep understanding of the cultural currents that had propelled Trump to power. His presence was seen as a strategic move to solidify Trump's base and bridge the divide between the Republican establishment and the populist wing of the party. Other key positions were filled with a mix of familiar faces and controversial newcomers. Marco Rubio, a one-time critic who had since become a staunch ally, was tapped to lead the State Department. Pete Hegseth, a Fox News commentator known for his hawkish views, was appointed Secretary of Defense. And in a move that sent shockwaves through the legal community, Trump chose Pam Bondi, the former Attorney General of Florida, who had been embroiled in controversy during his first term, to head the Department of Justice. These appointments, while celebrated by Trump's supporters as a sign of his commitment to his base, raised alarm bells among his critics. They saw in this new cabinet a consolidation of power, a move towards an administration that was more ideological and less beholden to traditional norms of governance. The stage was set for a dramatic power shift in Washington, one that would have far-reaching consequences for American democracy. Immigration, a defining issue of Trump's first term, took center stage once again as he assumed the presidency for the second time. Emboldened by his re-election and the unwavering support of his base, Trump doubled down on his hardline stance, vowing to crack down on illegal immigration and drastically reduce legal immigration levels. The Department of Homeland Security, now under the leadership of Kristi Noem, the former governor of South Dakota and a staunch Trump ally, wasted no time in implementing the president's agenda. Raids on businesses suspected of employing undocumented immigrants became commonplace, spreading fear and uncertainty throughout immigrant communities. The already overburdened immigration court system buckled under the strain of a surge in deportation cases. Trump's focus on immigration extended beyond enforcement. He sought to dismantle the legal pathways to citizenship, making it nearly impossible for even highly skilled workers and refugees fleeing persecution to find a home in America. The Diversity Visa Lottery, a program that had provided a pathway to citizenship for individuals from underrepresented countries, was abolished. The family-based immigration system, often referred to as chain migration by Trump and his allies, was severely restricted, limiting sponsorship to spouses and minor children. These actions, while applauded by those who believed that America's immigration system had long been too permissive, were met with widespread condemnation from human rights groups, religious organizations, and business leaders. They argued that Trump's policies were cruel, inhumane, and economically short-sighted, depriving the country of much-needed talent and undermining America's standing in the world. Under the leadership of Pam Bondi, the Department of Justice became a focal point of controversy, accused of being transformed into a tool of political retribution. Critics pointed to a pattern of behavior that they argued demonstrated a blatant disregard for the rule of law and an erosion of the independence of the Justice Department. One of the most glaring examples of this alleged politicization was the Justice Department's handling of investigations into Trump's political opponents. Investigations into the business dealings of Hunter Biden, President Biden's son, which had languished during the previous administration, were suddenly given new life and prominence. Meanwhile, investigations into potential wrongdoing by Trump and his allies, including the January 6th insurrection, seemed to stall or disappear altogether. The Justice Department also faced accusations of using its power to target individuals and groups that had been critical of the Trump administration. Journalists who had published articles critical of Trump or his policies were subpoenaed to reveal their sources. Protests against Trump's policies were met with an aggressive law enforcement response, with federal agents deployed to quell demonstrations and make arrests. These actions sent shockwaves through the legal community and beyond, with many fearing that Trump was dismantling the norms of American democracy and consolidating power in a way that had not been seen in modern history. The Justice Department, once a symbol of American justice and impartiality, was now viewed by many as a tool of political repression, undermining faith in the very institutions that were meant to uphold the rule of law. Trump's gamble was bold and honestly, unpredictable. He took risks that many thought were, well, too high, but in his view, the potential rewards outweighed the dangers. His approach was unconventional, to say the least. And it certainly got people talking. Some praised his audacity, while others criticized his recklessness. But in the end, it was clear that Trump was willing to bet big on his vision for America. Whether you agreed with him or not, you couldn't deny that he was shaking things up in a major way. In the realm of digital advancements, the administration sought to solidify America's dominance. Policies were enacted to protect intellectual property and encourage innovation. The aim was to outpace global competitors and establish a secure digital infrastructure. This was seen as essential for both economic growth and national security. The administration's approach to justice was marked by a series of high-profile investigations and legal maneuvers. Allegations of quid pro quo emerged, stirring political debates and media scrutiny. The focus was on maintaining the integrity of the judicial system while addressing these complex issues head-on. Legal battles became a constant backdrop during this period. From courtroom dramas to legislative showdowns, the political landscape was turbulent. These confrontations tested the resilience of institutions and the resolve of the administration. Each battle had the potential to reshape the political narrative and impact the future direction of the country. GAP 3S. Amidst the political turmoil, Trump's economic policies were a cornerstone of his administration. From tax cuts to deregulation, these measures aimed to stimulate growth and foster a business-friendly environment. Stock footage of bustling Wall Street, small businesses, and major infrastructure projects illustrates the tangible impact of these policies on the American economy. GAP 3S, unemployment rates hit historic lows, and the stock market reached unprecedented heights. However, the benefits were not evenly distributed. Critics argue that wealth inequality widened, and some sectors, particularly manufacturing, faced challenges. Clips of economic analysts and community leaders provide a balanced perspective on these outcomes. GAP 3S. The administration's trade policies, especially the tariffs on China, were controversial. Supporters claim they protected American jobs and industries, while opponents warn of long-term economic repercussions. Footage of trade negotiations and factory floors highlight the complexities of these decisions. GAP 3S. Despite the debates, Trump's economic legacy is one of significant impact. For many, the policies offered a sense of hope and opportunity. For others, they underscored the need for a more inclusive approach to economic growth. As the nation moves forward, the true measure of these policies will be seen in the years to come. GAP 3S, Trump's foreign policy was marked by a blend of unpredictability and bold moves that reshaped America's role on the global stage. Stock footage of international summits, including meetings with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and Russian President Vladimir Putin, sets the scene for this complex narrative. GAP 3S. One of the hallmark moments was the unprecedented summits with North Korea. While the historic meetings were aimed at denuclearization, the tangible outcomes remain debated. Footage of the summits and handshake moments highlight the high-stakes diplomacy. GAP 3S. Trump's America First doctrine often led to contentious relationships with traditional allies. Footage of NATO summits and trade negotiations with the European Union underscored the tensions and recalibrations in these alliances. GAP 3S. The administration's hardline stance on China, marked by trade wars and strategic rivalry, had far-reaching implications. Clips of trade negotiations and military posturing in the South China Sea illustrate the multifaceted approach to this global superpower. GAP 3S. In the Middle East, Trump's policies, including the Abraham Accords, aimed to foster peace and redefine alliances. Footage of signing ceremonies and regional leaders provides a glimpse into these diplomatic efforts. GAP 3S. Critics argue that the administration's foreign policy was often erratic and undermined long-standing alliances, while supporters claim it was a necessary recalibration of American priorities. As the world continues to evolve, the true impact of Trump's international relations strategy will be a subject of intense scrutiny and debate. GAP 3S. One of the most enduring impacts of Trump's second term was his influence on the Supreme Court and the broader judicial landscape. Stock footage of courtrooms, gavel strikes, and the Supreme Court building sets the scene for this pivotal narrative. GAP 3S. Trump's administration successfully appointed 3 Supreme Court justices, dramatically shifting the ideological balance of the nation's highest court. Footage of the confirmation hearings and the swearing-in ceremonies of Justices Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett underscores the significance of these appointments. GAP 3S. These appointments solidified a conservative majority that would shape key rulings for decades to come. Clips of landmark Supreme Court decisions and public reactions highlight the profound impact on issues ranging from reproductive rights to healthcare and beyond. GAP 3S. Beyond the Supreme Court, Trump appointed over 200 federal judges, leaving a lasting imprint on the judiciary. Footage of federal courtrooms and judges presiding over cases illustrates the breadth of this influence. GAP 3S. Supporters argue that these appointments restored a constitutionalist approach to the judiciary, while critics contend that it undermined progress on critical social issues. The legacy of Trump's judicial influence will be a subject of intense examination as the courts continue to navigate complex legal landscapes. GAP 3S. As the nation reflects on these judicial shifts, the true impact of Trump's appointments will resonate through the legal system for generations, shaping the fabric of American jurisprudence. GAP 3S. One of the most defining aspects of Trump's second term was his unparalleled use of social media to shape public opinion. Stock footage of various social media platforms, tweets, and scrolling feeds set the stage for this analysis. GAP 3S. Trump's tweets and online posts became a direct line of communication with his base, bypassing traditional media outlets. Footage of tweets going viral and news anchors discussing his social media activity highlights the immediacy and impact of his digital presence. GAP 3S. This strategy not only rallied his supporters, but also polarized the nation, creating an environment where misinformation and sensationalism thrived. Clips of online debates, protests, and public reactions underscore the divisive nature of his posts. GAP 3S. Trump's social media tactics also led to significant consequences for tech companies, prompting debates over free speech and content moderation. Scenes of congressional hearings and tech CEOs testifying illustrate the broader implications for the digital landscape. GAP 3S. The suspension of Trump's accounts following the events at the Capitol on January 6 marked a pivotal moment, raising questions about the power of social media platforms and their role in democracy. Footage of the Capitol riots and the aftermath adds gravity to this turning point. GAP 3S. As the nation continues to navigate the complexities of the digital age, Trump's social media strategy will remain a critical case study in the power and perils of online communication. The lasting effects on public discourse and political engagement are still unfolding, shaping the future of how leaders connect with the public. GAP 3S. The digital footprint of Trump's second term serves as a reminder of the profound influence social media can wield, for better or worse, in the arena of public opinion. Gap 3S, Trump's second term was rife with controversies and scandals that kept the nation on edge. Stock footage of breaking news reports, headlines flashing, and intense newsroom scenes set the tone for this chapter. Gap 3S, from allegations of misuse of power to conflicts of interest, the administration was constantly under scrutiny. Clips of press conferences, investigative journalists, and public protests highlight the ongoing tension. Gap 3S, one of the most significant controversies was the handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. Footage of crowded hospitals, vaccine rollouts, and public debates over mask mandates underscore the administration's polarizing response. Gap 3S. Additionally, Trump's dealings with foreign leaders often sparked outrage and raised ethical questions. Scenes of international summits, diplomatic gaffes, and global reactions illustrate the contentious nature of his foreign policy. Gap 3S. The administration also faced numerous legal challenges, including allegations of obstruction of justice and financial improprieties. Stock footage of courtrooms, legal documents, and lawyers in action convey the gravity of these accusations. Gap 3S. Despite the constant barrage of scandals, Trump's core supporters remain steadfast, viewing the controversies as politically motivated attacks. Clips of rallies, interviews with supporters, and social media reactions capture this unwavering loyalty. Gap 3S. As the dust settles, the controversies and scandals of Trump's second term will continue to be dissected and debated, shaping his legacy and the future of American politics. The lasting impact of these tumultuous years will be felt for generations to come, as the nation reflects on the lessons learned from this era of unprecedented political drama. Reflecting on the second term, the legacy of the administration is multifaceted. Economic initiatives, judicial appointments, and foreign policies are just a few aspects that will be scrutinized by historians. The impact of these years will be debated for generations, as the nation continues to grapple with the changes brought about during this turbulent era.